The semicolon and the colon. The semicolon is used to connect major sentence elements of equal grammatical rank. The colon is used primarily to call attention to the words that follow it. Use a semicolon between closely related independent clauses, between independent clauses with no coordinating conjunction. When two independent clauses appear in one sentence, they are usually linked with a comma and a subordinating conjunction, and, but, or, nor, for, so, yet. If the clauses are closely related and the relation is clear without a conjunction, they may be linked with a semicolon instead. In film, a low-angle shot makes the subject look powerful, semicolon. A high-angle shot does just the opposite. A semicolon must be used whenever a coordinating conjunction has been omitted between independent clauses. To use merely a comma creates a type of run-on sentence known as a comma splice. In 1800, a traveler needed 6 weeks to get from New York to Chicago, and then you're supposed to use a semicolon after Chicago. In 1860, comma, the trip by train took only 2 days. Transitional phrases or transitional expressions include conjunctive adverbs and transitional phrases. Conjunctive adverbs. Accordingly, also, anyway, besides, certainly, consequently, conversely, finally, furthermore, however, incidentally, indeed, instead, likewise, meanwhile, moreover, nevertheless, next, now, otherwise, similarly, specifically, still, subsequently, then, therefore, thus, hence, nevertheless, after all, as a matter of fact, as a result, at any rate, at the same time, even so, for example, for instance, in addition, in conclusion, in fact, in other words, in the first place, on the contrary, on the other hand. When a transitional expression appears between independent clauses, it is preceded by a semicolon. Many corals grow very gradually, semicolon. In fact, comma, the creation of coral reefs can take centuries. When a transitional expression appears in the middle or at the end of the second independent clause, the semicolon goes between the clauses. Biologists have observed laughter in primates other than humans, semicolon. Chimpanzees, comma, however, comma, sound more like they are panting than laughing. Transitional expressions should not be confused with coordinating conjunctions and, but, or, nor, for, so, yet, which are preceded by a comma when they link independent clauses. Use a semicolon between items in a series containing internal punctuation. Researchers point to key benefits of positive thinking, colon. It leads to high self-esteem, especially in people who focus on their achievements, semicolon. It helps make social interactions, comma, such as those with coworkers, comma, more enjoyable, semicolon. And, comma, most important, comma, it results in better sleep and overall health. Without the semicolons, the reader would have to sort out the major groupings, distinguishing between important and less important pauses according to the logic of the sentence. By inserting semicolons at the major breaks of where the sentence ends, the writer does this work for the reader. Avoid common misuses of the semicolon. Do not use a semicolon in the following situations: between a subordinate clause and the rest of the sentence. Although children's literature was added to the National Book Awards in 1969, and you don't put a semicolon after 1969, you put a comma, it has had its own award, the Newbery Medal, since 1922. Do not use a semicolon between a positive and the word it refers to. The scientists were fascinated by the species Arigayuneta aquatica, and you put a comma there, not a semicolon, a spider that lives underwater. And you don't use a semicolon to introduce a list. You use a colon for that. So some of my favorite celebrities have their own blogs. So you don't use a semicolon there, you use a colon. Katy Perry, Beyonce, and Zoe Deschanel. And we don't use a comma Semicolon, we don't use a semicolon between independent clauses joined by and, but, or, nor, for, so, yet, otherwise known as fanboys. 5 of the applicants had worked with spreadsheets, and we don't use semicolons there, we use a comma, but only one was familiar with database management. If one or both of the independent clauses contain a comma, you may use a semicolon with a coordinating conjunction between the clauses. Use a colon, and now we're not doing semicolons anymore, okay? So we finished with semicolon, and now we're doing colon. Use a colon after an independent clause to direct attention to a list and a positive, a quotation or a summary or an explanation. So use a colon for a list. The daily routine should include, the daily exercise routine should include at least the following. So you're about to do a list, then you put in the colon. 10 minutes of stretching, 40 abdominal crunches, and a 20-minute run. And a positive. My roommate seems to live on 2 things, colon, sushi and social media. A quotation. Consider the words of Benjamin Franklin, colon, there never was a good war or a bad peace. Use a colon after a summary or an explanation. Faith is like love, colon, it cannot be forced. The novel is clearly autobiographical, colon. The author even gives his own name to the main character. Use a colon according to convention. Salutation in a letter. Dear editor, hours and minutes, 5:30 p.m. Proportions. The ratio of women to men was 2-1. Title and subtitle. The Glory of Hera, colon, Greek mythology and the Greek family. Bibliographic entries. Boston, colon, Bedford, St. Martin's, 2018. Chapter and verse in a sacred text. So we use colons for all of this. Luke 2, colon, Luke chapter 2, colon, verse 14. A colon must be preceded by a full independent clause. Therefore, avoid using it in the following situations. Do not use a colon between a verb and its object or complement. Some important vitamins found in vegetables are vitamin A, thiamine, niacin, and vitamin C. Do not use a colon between a preposition and its object. The heart's 2 pumps each consist of an upper chamber or atrium and a lower chamber or ventricle. Do not use a colon after such as, including, or for example. The NCAA regulates college athletic sports, including basketball, baseball, softball, and football. And that's it that ends this video on colon and semicolon. If you have any questions, and you can always email me at any time. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the Professor H writing channel.